This assignment is 36 images of one person, place, or thing. Really, you guys? It's 36 to 100. Always aim for 100 images per project. It gives you options. It gives you choices. You get to perfect your photographic skills. You get to play with angles. You get to play with lighting. And that's what I want you to do. So pick one person. Don't just do a shot of them sitting there, click, 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 smiling and stuff. You know, think about their daily lives. Show them around the home. Show them out and about, if we can go out and about. But really mix it up. It doesn't always have to show their face. It can be their back. It could be their side. It could be their hands. It could be their feet. It could be their elbow. So think in terms of abstracting them, possibly. Place. It could be your home. It could be a specific building. It could be an idea of place. Or it could be a thing. This is Edward Weston's photograph of Pepper. This is Pepper number 30, one of Edward Weston's most iconic images. To get to Pepper number 30, Edward Weston shot many different photographs of peppers. This particular image is so fantastic because it has symbolism and metaphor. It resembles a human body. You can see the strength, you can see the line and the movement and the flow. It's an absolutely gorgeous photograph. Everything here works. These are some of the others on the way. Not quite as dynamic, but not every photograph is an iconic image that marks you in history. But they are still pretty nice. Look at how the light hits. So play with lighting. Just because you might not have studio lighting, well, you're in beginning photography. Why would you? You can use window light. You can use a flashlight. Think about how you can light things. Can you bounce light? You can bounce light with a simple piece of paper. It bounces light. Anything white. It can bounce light back onto me. Okay? So think about things like that. This next photographer is Nicholas Nixon, and this is his family, his wife and her 3 sisters. He photographed them for over 40 years. Every year they'd get together and he would make a photograph. So they start younger, and then in the end we'll get to see them older. But one of the things I like about this photograph is you see his shadow in the photograph, so he becomes part of it. I love that. And this is the final one from 2014 or so. It is a book that you could check out of the library. You could look up all the images online. The New York Times is where I believe I pulled these from, 40 years. This next artist is William Christenberry. He's an artist and a photographer, and he would take the same drive every year and photograph the same buildings, the same locations, year after year after year. So I'm going to skip past that middle one there for a second. I had them out of order. But this is the same building from 1974 to 2004. But you can see that they're not all exactly the same. Sometimes he's closer, sometimes he's further away, sometimes he's in an angle. But it's just documenting this building over and over again. One of the things I love about him as a photographer and an artist is he actually made a little sculpture of that little red building. Okay, so he liked to photograph the same place and grid them out. You might remember we made a grid a couple of days ago, or last week, with our images 4 ways. We did 4 different processing, but you could definitely grid an idea like this over time. You don't have a lot of time, but you could do 4 sides of a building. You could do up close, far away. You could do shadows. You could make abstracts. You can shoot the whole. So that's how you could go about shooting one thing. Play with it from every conceivable angle. Not everything has to be straight on, same distance, centered. Go to the side, move up close. And that's kind of what happened here. So he was a little further away in the first shot, and then he moved up close and did a detail in the next shot. So 1989 and 1991. Details are great. They can be totally abstracted. We don't even have to know what the object is. And then here's a sculpture of the green building. These are kind of fun. These were done by high school kids. They were given an assignment to shoot their shoes. and then grid them out. So get up close, all the different angles. I like the bottom. So just something to get you thinking. Different pens and pencils. I guess this would be office supplies. Just play with how you view things. Playing with angles, playing with light. Back to a shoe one. I love the shoes. And then a teapot. Kind of fun. And I want to show you Hilla and Bernd Beecher. They were iconic artists of the 60s and 70s in Germany, and they taught at the German school, and many of the great abstract and conceptual artists of the 70s, 80s, and 90s were taught by these artists. So they were always looking at typology, so photographing the same sort of things over and over and over again and gridding them. Okay, so you can see here, all gridded out. These are all separate images. And down here at the bottom, this was in a show, these are the locations of these places and any important information they felt the viewer should know. Another grid. Same but different. I'm fascinated by these. When I was a young photographer, I didn't understand it at all, but I kept coming back to it, and it kept intriguing me more and more and more as my eye and ideas grew. Here they are, laying out a grid, and it gives you a sense of the size of the image. I always like to know how big things are. Like, I can read the size, but in comparison to human scale, I think that's interesting. So those are about to go up on a wall. This is Hannah van der Vood. I'm sure I butchered that. Anyways, these are all redheads from the Natural Red Hair series. Beautiful photographs. Beautiful compositions. Notice not everyone is centered. Not everyone is looking at the camera. The color is spectacular, popping out. The reds. The relationships. This feels very cinematic. Gregory Crutzen comes to mind when I'm looking at this image. In the book on page 45 and 46, or your PDF, that's where you're going to find a little bit more information about what we're looking at. Elliot Erwitt said, "To me, photography is an art of observation. It's about finding something interesting in an ordinary place. I found it has little to do with the things you see and everything to do with the way you see them." So this project is really about how you look. So dive deep, play. If you think it, try it. Just keep shooting. Keep shooting, keep shooting. 100, you could go 200, 300. Shoot away. So take a look here at the book. It's got Nicholas Nixon, Hiroshi Sugimoto for Theaters and Conceptual Forms, Joel Merowitz. Look for meaning in what you're photographing. Why are you photographing it? Why is the object important to you? If it has importance to you, it's probably going to be more interesting to photograph and then more interesting for your viewers. Can you create a narrative out of what you're photographing? There's very much a narrative starting to happen here. So go make some images.